Okay, so question 4, constructing a roof over a patio area. First off, if we just go through and do a little sketch as to what it needs to look like, we've got A, B, C and D, which have no prerequisites. E comes from A, F comes from B, G comes from B and E, H comes from F, I comes from C, G and H, J comes from D and I, K comes from J, and L comes from K. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 across. That's doable. Okay. So, first off, we have A, B, C, and D. That's fine. Okay, A goes into E, E, goes into G, actually if B goes into F, that goes there, B goes into F, goes into H, goes into I, that goes into I as well, I goes into J, and we may have to go over this bit. Or we'll just go over the top of it. Goes into K, goes into L. Now, ideally, we don't ever want to go on things that are going back on themselves, but at least the end bit's a single run. Okay, so C went into I, and D went into J. So, if we start putting the numbers in, all of these are going to start at 0. Then A is a quarter, B is a half, C is 1.5, D is 2.5. Okay, so 0 and a quarter is a quarter, E is 1. So things going into G are 1.25 and a half. So 1.25 is going to be bigger. We've got a half going into F. So F is 1.25. So going into H will be 1 3/4. H is 1 1/2. G is is 1/2. So we've got 3 1/4, or we've got under 2, or we've got something a lot smaller. So we've got 3 1/4 going into I. I is 1 1/2. So this one is smaller, so we stick with this bit. So we've got 4 3/4. J is 2 1/2. So K is going to be 7 1/4. K is 2. So that'll be 9 1/4. And L is 1. So that'll finish at 10 1/4. So that's the earliest start time for part B. We now need to do latest finish time. So 10 1/4 take 1 is 9 1/4. 9 1/4 take 2, 7 1/4. 7 1/4 take 2 1/2 is 4 3/4. And that goes in both of those. 4 3/4 take 1 1/2 is 3 1/4. So that's going to go into there, there, and there. 3 1/4 take 1 1/2 is 1 3/4. 1 3/4 take 1 1/2 is 1/2. 3 1/4 take 1/2 is 2 3/4. So that's 2 3/4. Take 1 is 1 3/4. Okay, so critical path is going to be looking at this. It's coming along here. And then it's just heading along. So critical path is going to be, no, that pen doesn't work anymore. So that is B, F, H, I, J, K, L. Okay, given that all activities start as late as possible, do a cascade diagram on page 11. So we need to go up to 10 1/4. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Awesome. So 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, if we start off with the easiest bit, so if we start off with our critical path, so our critical path is going from 0 to 1/2, and I had a ruler a minute ago. There we go. So 0 up to a half, and that is B. A half up to 1 3/4 is F. So that's half. One 3/4 up to 3 1/4 is H. Three 1/4 up to 4 3/4 is I. Four 3/4 up to 7 1/4 is J. 7 1/4 up to 9 1/4 is K. And then L goes up to 10 1/4. Okay, so that's our critical path. We've now just got to do these ones. So we have A, which is 1/4 long and can go up to 1 3/4, which is at the end of F. Okay, right. We need to remember that these are late as possible, not early as possible. So we need to put these at the end of what we're doing. So this 1/4 doesn't go at the beginning, it goes at the end, which is here. So we need to get rid of that line, which is why we do things in pencil. And we need a dotty line that goes up to there, and then that little bit there is A. E goes up to 2 3/4. So 2 3/4 is there. E is 1 long. So 2 3/4 will be 1 3/4. And the earliest that could have started is at 1/4. So that will be E. Then we've got G that ends at 3 1/4, which will be here.
Are you recording?
Yes. It takes a half, which would take it down to there, and it could start at 1 1/4, which is there. And that's G. We've then got C that goes from 0 to 3 1/4. And is 1 1/2 long. And that could start at 0. And then we've got D that is 2 1/2 long and ends at 4 3/4. So 4 3/4 is there. 2.5. We'll take that down to 2.25. So 2.25 is there, and that could start at 0. So that's D. Okay, find the minimum completion time if there is only one worker available. So if there is only one worker available, that worker has to do everything. So everything is 10.25 plus 1/4, 1.5, 1.5 and 2.5. So given that we don't actually want to stuff up what is effectively basic adding, we've got 10.25, then we add our non-critical ones, so 0.25 plus 1 plus 0.5 plus 1.5 plus 2.5. So it should take one person 16 hours. So one person takes 16 hours. And if there are 2 people, then what we need to figure out is where can these things fit in. So looking at this, we could get one person to do A, E, G, C and D, assuming that we've got enough time and they don't overlap. So if we look at D, which is the latest one to finish, we may end up having to delay some other things if they don't fit in. So if we give our other guy the 0.25 and 1 and 0.5 and 1.5, Muppet moment, 2.5 plus 1 plus 0.5 plus 1.5 plus 2.5. That takes us up to 5.75. So that's puts a delay of 1 hour on finishing D, which means it's going to take, this one can't be started till 5.75 because the other guy's got to fit in all of this, which means your whole project will be delayed by 1 hour, so should come in at 11.25. So 2 people take 11.25 hours, as there is a 1 hour delay on starting J. Now obviously I don't know exactly what they're marking for, but that is